Deep in the woods, a witch lay dead. That's what all the grown-ups in town would always say. It was to keep us from going to the river alone late at night, an attempt to scare us so that we wouldn't break our curfew. So when people had begun to go missing around the neighborhood, all the kids were quick to blame the witch. I was always skeptical, so me and my friends had decided that we were going to go into the woods and find the witch. My name is Peter. My family had just moved into the neighborhood a year ago, and even though I'm not totally new to the neighborhood, I only have like two real friends. The first is Tommy, and it was his idea to go into the woods. Tommy was a troublemaker. He lived with his grandpa, who was old-fashioned and strict. Whenever Tommy got into trouble, his grandpa was quick with the belt. Tommy didn't enjoy as much freedom as I did. My parents were very easygoing. The second is Franklin. Franklin is the youngest, 11, and he was always the first one to bring up the rules and ask if what we were doing would get us in trouble. He's slightly overweight and was the nerd of the group. I had always enjoyed sleeping in, but I was awoken by the sound of the two of them knocking at my door. I could hear Tommy loudly talking about our plans for the day. I stuck my head out of my window and told him, "Be quiet. You want my parents, or even worse, my sister to hear you?" We all sat in my room. Tommy had a backpack full of weapons that would have made any 13-year-old confident. He had two slingshots. One was cheap and homemade from a branch. The other was a factory-made wrist rocket. I had always wanted one of those. Next, he pulled out a BB gun with a small tin of BBs. Last he had was a buck knife that he swiped from his grandpa. Franklin nervously asked,
Which one is mine?
Tommy laughed as he shoved the wooden slingshot into Franklin's chest. "You get the cheapo." I put my arm around Franklin's shoulder. "Don't worry, that slingshot is legendary." Tommy sneered as he handed me the wrist rocket and kept the BB gun and buck knife for himself. But the only thing I really wanted to take was my cell phone. I want to be the first to prove that this urban legend wasn't true. We had planned to camp out near an old makeshift shelter that was only known to a few kids. I'd never seen it, but Tommy claimed that he knew where it was. We had told our parents that we were all sleeping over at Tommy's house, which seemed like a good idea because both mine and Franklin's parents didn't get along with Tommy's grandpa. So I figured it would buy us at least one night before anybody started looking for us. We set off in the woods following an old hiking trail. The roar of the traffic from the nearby highway began to slowly fade as we ventured deeper. We decided to do some target practice, taking turns aiming at trees, rocks, no real targets to shoot. Tommy took aim at two small birds in a tree. "Come on, let's kill them." Even though I was the eldest of the group, I usually followed Tommy's direction without protest. I pretended to aim at the birds, but I didn't really want to hurt the poor things, so I just aimed really high above them. Tommy took a deadly aim, and on his third shot, one of the birds went stiff and fell out of the tree. We all ran up to see the damage. Franklin and I stood there silent, but Tommy couldn't have been happier. "Look, I got him right in the head." The bird was dead. It wasn't moving or anything. I'd never seen anything die before. Franklin spoke with his hand over his mouth.
Come on, guys. Let's get out of here before somebody comes.
I couldn't wait to get out of that area too, but Tommy quickly took control. "I know a shortcut." Now this shortcut wasn't any trail. It was through thick, heavy brush. The branches everywhere seemed to hold you back, like walking through a crowd of people who refused to move out of the way. Franklin was always the last to follow. That's when I noticed that the second bird, the one Tommy didn't kill, was just sitting there on the branch watching us. It was like it wasn't even afraid of us or anything. Franklin was quick to complain about this shortcut.
Ugh, why did I wear shorts?
I responded, "Because it's hot. I wish I wore shorts." We reached our destination, and the sky had grew dim. It was a cramped shelter made out of logs and sticks, built right into the tree. We set up our sleeping bags in a circle inside of it. Franklin and Tommy began to argue about which superhero was strongest, the type of conversation I would usually join in on, but my stomach turned. The thought of that dead bird remained with me. The day was winding down, and I was beginning to have regrets about sleeping out here, but, it was too late to turn back now. Then I received a text message. It was from my sister. All it said was, "You're in trouble." "Oh no! Guys, I think our parents know we're out here." Tommy jolted over, coaching me on what to text back. "What? Don't text back anything. We gotta figure out what they know." I guess he was right. No need to really panic because my sister could have been talking about anything. After all, if I was in trouble, my mom would have just called or texted me to get home herself. Or maybe she was just waiting for me to get home before she punished me. I didn't know.
Why don't you guys just ask your sister what she's talking about?
Tommy lunged from my phone and snatched it out of my hands. No, that's a bad idea. Franklin tried to reason with Tommy.
We should at least find out what they know. So if they come looking for us, we could go hide somewhere else.
Tommy took a breath and handed me my phone back. I texted my sister, plain stupid. What are you talking about? My phone immediately chimed with another message. If you don't leave soon, you'll be lost forever. I was about to tell my friends about this strange message when suddenly my phone chimed again. It said, "He is going to kill you." I rolled on my side, attempting to hide my phone screen from the other two. I typed in, "Who? What are you talking about?" Tommy grabbed the phone out of my hands again. When he looked at the text messages, his eyes shot wide open. He stared at me, gritting his teeth. I had never seen Tommy look so angry before. It was like it wasn't even him anymore. He stood above me with his hands balled up and shaking. He pinned me down. I tried my best to wrestle him off, but he was too strong for me. Franklin was slow to intervene, but he was able to distract Tommy enough for me to stand back up. Suddenly, the fight stopped and went quiet. Tommy had stuck the buck knife deep into Franklin's stomach. I threw the hardest punch I could muster at Tommy's head, knocking him down for a sec. I attempted to pull Franklin away, but he was too heavy. I had no other choice but to leave him there. I ran as fast as I could towards the trail, but it was so dark, and the branches felt like track hurdles. I could hear Franklin crying and begging for mercy, followed by a quick sudden stab, and then silence. I crawled along the ground in hopes of losing Tommy in the dark, but he was following me and taunting me. "They're never gonna find you, Peter." I tried to stay as low and quiet as I could, but Tommy was closing in fast. I grabbed a nearby stick to defend myself and yelled out, "Why are you doing this? Franklin was your friend." He continued to move in. "Ha! I have no friends." I readied myself for a fight to the death. "So, what, you kill us?" He paused, catching his breath. "I found her, Peter. I found the witch before I even brought you guys out here. She showed me all the things you and Franklin say behind my back. She told me I have to kill you. She needs your souls so she can live again." Before I could reply, he jumped straight at me like a wild animal. I tried to take a swing, but I was stopped by something. I didn't know what it was until I looked down. Tommy had buried the blade deep into my chest, so deep that all I saw was the handle. I collapsed to the floor. Tommy grabbed my feet and dragged me back to the campsite. I could feel myself becoming sleepy. I was dying. That's when I saw her, standing over Franklin's body. It was the witch. She was real. She was tall and skinny and actually looked really beautiful. Tommy and her stood side by side, staring at me. The heavier my eyes became, the more they seemed to smile at me, until I could no longer breathe. What the hell did Tommy unleash onto us?